When you think the original film came out in 1977, the love of Star Wars never died.
It is a sense of the theatrical brought to real life.
It is like art. It's my version of art.
I think the media obviously like to portray people dressing up in Star Wars costumes as a certain way, and they don't see that side of it when, you know, you're at a little child's funeral.
I've always been of the opinion you have to get older, you have no choice, you know, that just happens. I've never gone along with the growing up thing. It's like, why? It's not necessary. I remember my dad actually saying to me once, it's like you're going through a second childhood, and it's, seriously, I'm not finished with the first. Everything about it was different. It was mind-blowing, absolutely. I can honestly say, genuinely mind-blowing. I could not talk about anything else for well, since, really, to be honest, some people might say. The opening scene where the Star Destroyer goes across and then you get the Tantive and the Stormtroopers come up, I mean, it's just, from then on it was like, oh my God, that's just amazing, Stormtroopers. And I've had a kind of obsessional connection kind of thing with Stormtroopers ever since. And always wanted to get a Stormtrooper helmet. It's an evolution, in that you start off wanting to collect or get, and I never realised that. I mean, it's the internet's been the reason why this has exploded, because people now know, oh, I'm not the only one. You want to get that prop, that costume, that whatever. And as the internet grew, it became easier, or more, you were more able to do that. And then once you've got them, seriously, how many people you know are going to own a Stormtrooper helmet, not going to try it on? You're going to. The UK Garrison is part of the 501st, which is a worldwide organisation of costumers. We'll work kind of independently and differently, but under kind of one big umbrella, if you like. I've been really lucky. I've been part of the UK Garrison now for probably 8.5 years or so. The last 5, I've been running it, and it's pretty much 12 plus hours of my day. I'm sure you've heard of Graham Campbell, who started the UK Garrison, and Albin Johnson in the US, who started the 501st, and the two of those are responsible, directly, indirectly, for my life now, because I spend a good portion of my life dressed up as a movie character. People say, well, what type of person? There is no type. People in the military, in the police, nursing, you know, doctors. I mean, some people collect stamps, football programs, theatre programs, or they do go football matches or whatever. I mean, this is my thing.
Everyone will tell you differently. You will get people who will say that what we do is cosplaying. You will get some of our members who will say, I'm absolutely not a cosplayer. Some are happy to be defined as a cosplayer. We are costumers. With the UK Garrison, what we get with us is we not only have the costume, but as soon as we leave our changing room, we are that character, and we will endeavour to stay in character 100% of the time.
I've never been from a kind of, I don't know, sort of drama, acting, wanting to dress up as a character as such. I just thought those characters are so cool, I'd love to be one. So this is what got me into it in the first place. My Stormtrooper helmet. So yeah, I mean, this is just so iconic. You know, pretty much anyone that sees you knows you're a Stormtrooper. Yeah, well, this is pretty much where I sit and get my Darth Maul makeup on before I go to an event. What I've got here, a good friend of mine did a life cast on my face. It's a bit freaky sometimes seeing yourself looking like you're asleep, but when you look at it like that, it freaks my wife out every time. But yeah, so this is what I basically did some vacuum forming, some stencils for me. So basically what we've got is a number of different stencils with like the tribal markings cut out. So the idea really then is to make the makeup a lot more repeatable and a lot quicker. So all I basically have to do is when I'm getting the makeup on is by putting sort of that on my face. You can then mark out, because I say it's quite intricate, all of the makeup. So that helps to speed things up. But I say speed things up. It's I mean, it will take a good at least 3 hours, I think, to go through all that. I've got to admit, every time when I sit down initially, sometimes it's like 3 o'clock in the morning when I start doing it, and you start doing it and you think, why am I doing this? Really? You know, I should be in bed right now. But once you've got it all on, and you sort of look in the mirror, yeah, he's such an amazing character. He looks so badass. As soon as you got that on, he makes you feel like that.
I've been trooping now for 3 years, just over 3 years now. I spoke to one of the guys and said, look, I said, this is awesome. I want to get involved. You know, I'm a bit tall for a Stormtrooper. I said, do you know what, you make a really good Darth Vader. Really? Yeah, because you've got the height.
It's not the sort of thing you can just jump into. You've got to do your research, look into, you know, what kind of costume you want to do, all the ins and outs of it.
What I actually did was to find out how big Dave Prowse was. Because I thought, if I'm going to pull this off, I need to know how big he was, just to get the whole thing looking right.
With the UKG and just costume in general, there's this desire for the Holy Grail, this perfection. You know, the armour that I have at the moment is probably amongst the most accurate out there. Even own a helmet that was cast from an original helmet. It's like art. It's no good having art in a warehouse somewhere. It's supposed to be seen, and people should experience it and understand it and appreciate it.
People have this misconception about it. They just go, you kind of like dress up. Well, it's not really dress up. You know, it's like telling a Formula One driver that he's going out for a jolly, he's going out for a drive, or a footballer, he's going to have a kickabout, you know, professional footballer, you're going to have a kickabout this afternoon. Well, essentially, yeah, that's what he's doing, but there's a little bit more to it than that. And it's the same with costuming. It's, well, what we do anyway.
The big question that we often get, you'll get emails come through to the UKG, is I just want a cheap, easy costume to do. And the honest answer is there isn't any such thing. First of all, you join the forum, introduce yourself, tell us what you want to do. Then we have an area which we call the Armoury. And basically that's broken down into sections depending on what costume you want to do. So if you want to go to, for argument's sake, the most common costume that people join with is they want to be a Stormtrooper. So they'll go into the Armoury and suggest that's what they'll do. We have armourers that are, in inverted commas, experts on that costume or that specific costume, or as near to experts as you're ever going to get, I guess. We will advise and kind of try and guide people in the right direction of where to go, where to get this kind of stuff. One of the first pieces of advice I will generally give people is don't just go to an online auction site and buy the first thing you see, because just because it says it's this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. But you know, on average, 3 to 6 months, I guess, then we will have a GML, someone who looks at the costume and makes sure it reaches the standard that we have for membership. The UKG are renowned for having very, very high standards, largely brought about by our founder, Graham Campbell. You know, Graham, when he did this seriously. And that tradition's been carried on by the members ever since. And we try to remain true to the film and true to what you see on screen.
One guy actually said to me, well, in that it was a bit sad what what you're doing. And I thought, well, what do you do for a hobby? I'll go fishing. I said, well, how does that benefit other people? It doesn't. You know, you sit there and fish. There's no disrespect to people who go fishing, but my hobby, I put smiles on faces, I raise money for charity and for good causes. So to me, it's win-win for everybody.
Obviously the adults know it's someone in a costume being that character, but the children go, isn't it that person? Is it the person I saw on TV? And that's what you want them to come away and thinking, I've met Darth Vader, I've met a real stormtrooper. A lot of characters here who are quite shy and quite reserved people, they put that costume on, they walk out of that changing room, bam, the confidence, they're there, they can meet people head on, they become this very, very confident character which they're trying to portray, which is not the same person that they are in real life.
I'm a fairly reserved person, personally, and it wasn't till halfway through my initial build I realised how much attention Vader gets. And I did panic at one point thinking, am I going to be able to pull this off? Because I'm not that kind of person. Your whole body language and your whole persona has got to be all powerful, really, because that's the type of character he is. But I was lucky, it only took me 2 months for that to click, the character, and now as soon as my helmet goes on, as far as I'm concerned, nothing can stop me. I'm all powerful and pretty much a badass. My helmet comes on, I'm just Ian again.
Welcome the Boba Fett to the stage.
They give up their weekends, not just Saturday and Sunday, and they do so much for charity, but also there's the fun. You're playing a character, you're giving something to the kids. Oh look, it's a stormtrooper. Oh, it's Boba Fett. That's important.
To sort of fulfil kids' dreams and to make them so happy, just from putting a costume on or whatever, I thought that's brilliant. And so that kind of, again, with my love of Star Wars, and I thought, well, I can do that. Can really make a difference in people's lives. And again, when you learn about the charity aspect of what the 501st and the UK Garrison do, well, you know, that's even more of a drive to be able to be a part of it.
Okay, well, the best way to do that is go onto our website and you'll see a tab on there.
I'm responsible for all the public relations, be it internal with the Garrison, external with the public. How did I get involved in the Garrison? By accident. I understood Star Wars, but I couldn't understand why you'd want to dress up and go out as a stormtrooper. And a lot of people don't get it until you actually see it for yourself. Watching the stormtroopers interact with the children, watching how excited they were to see them, I thought, this is what I wasn't getting. We have two distinct types of events. If it is for a charity or for school or a hospital or a community or will do some good for the public, then we just attend free of charge on the day to make their day go better. We also are unique among the 501st in that we actually have what we call a charity pot within the UK Garrison. So when we do commercial, marketing or promotional events, then what we usually discuss with the company we're doing this with is if they would be willing to donate some money into our charity pot. And then periodically through the year, that money is then issued as cheques to the various charities we support. Just the other week we issued a big cheque to the Henry Allen Trust. A few weeks before that we gave some money to the Mitchell Huth Foundation.
All we ask for is that we have a secure changing area and we all come armed with a lot of costume equipment.
Apart from the initial introduction, I don't do so much towards the event. We have a dedicated events team for that. We do quite a few weddings. It's not outrageous. There's a lot of Star Wars fans out there who would love a Star Wars presence at their wedding, and we do attend weddings. I attended one recently. We had Chewie there. So we've got fantastic pictures of the bride and groom with Chewbacca in the middle and a stormtrooper either side. It's taken over my life. It's changed my life. It's put what's important into perspective. You asked me a few years ago, if you explained where I'd be today, I wouldn't understand it, but you have to experience it to be there. And I just wouldn't change a thing now, I wouldn't.
I've always enjoyed what I call the smaller troops, the kind of where they're like our hospitals, which are kind of slightly more intimate and kid-based, and they're about, you know, making a difference to the kids' days.
I like your shirt. That's a cool shirt.
I'm a fan of Star Wars. I even have 2 Star Wars games.
No.
It's that escapism, where it can just sort of take them out of where they are and what's going on in their life at that moment in time.
How did you guys know I was here?
We have spies everywhere.
So as a play specialist, my role is to use play to make the stay in hospital much nicer for the children, and also use play to prepare children for procedures and distract them while they're having procedures.
Don't press the trigger. You're pointing it at me, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
They've been coming for a little while, yeah, they bring some sort of, you know, fun and excitement and some variation to the hospital routine.
You being an
all of the children that have to spend time in this hospital. So could you help us bring it in and give it to the nurses so that all the children can have it? Could you do that?
Good job, Tim. Thank you. All of this young lady here.
That's for all the children.
Is it cool? All the children in a hospital? Wow.
You know, so they have some quite difficult treatment, difficult times here. So actually, to sort of have people like the stormtroopers and the UK Garrison come to visit, really and to raise money for them, really sort of helps them know that other people are thinking and caring about them.
Yeah, Ashley was our first child, but it was just overwhelming love. It took quite a long time to get diagnosed for Ashley. It was over a 6-month period of him being poorly, when actually it was a junior doctor that had just come off rotation, had said that, you know, his symptoms don't quite add up. So he ordered a abdominal scan, and straight away in the scan it showed he had a 10/8 tumour. Treatment started straight away, and he did get better. The treatment did work, and after 2 years he reached remission and he was clear for 6 months. But then sadly he relapsed in the December, so and that's when the journey started again. He relapsed with a tumour in his brain. Once a child relapses from neuroblastoma, there's no protocol, there's no sort of proper treatment. It's pretty much they're terminal once they relapse. It was sort of a long time when we were in the hospital. A lot of his treatment was very heavy going, and we'd spend weeks at a time in hospital and then home for a few days. And a friend of ours had heard that Ashley loved Star Wars, and he was very bored and grumpy because he was stuck in hospital, and they knew of the 501st, had visited Great Ormond Street previously to see other poorly children, and they had taken the details of them, and they gave him a call, and they said, yeah, fine, we'd love to come and visit. I'm sure we've got some people within the area. But at the time when the stormtroopers came, he was at his very low. He'd just had radiation, which is quite horrific for a child with a brain tumour. Because they make a mask moulded to your face and then pin you to a table. Literally screw you to a table, and then they do radiation. So it's quite horrific, for the child and to watch as a parent. So, but I think it did help hugely with stormtroopers coming in, because it gave him a new lift, and they'd said to him, if once you're feeling a little bit better, in a few weeks' time we're doing this event, maybe you'd like to come along and see us, and we did, So, so we have some really great memories with the 501st. But yeah, I think it gave him a lot of sort of inspiration when the stormtroopers came to visit, and it was always something that he always talked about afterwards. And that I think he honestly believed he was like a Padawan and a junior Jedi in training, and he would always be jumping around in his Jedi costume. He used to always be like, it's okay, I'm going to be strong, I've got the Force with me, and being brave. I don't think we would have even got that far, or he wouldn't have lived that long if it wasn't for sort of the visits.
How you doing, Charlie?
Because I think a lot of your well-being is not just purely in your mind, but how you feel and your positivity can impact on how well you take treatment, on your outlook. So I think it does have an effect, absolutely. And again, I think the whole escapism, it can only help just to take their mind off, say, the scary treatments they might be having, or just a bit of a boost, really.
Darius, want one?
Hey, Darius, how are you? Hello.
A lot of fun with it.
You gonna come and get some Lego?
I think he's shy.
Darius.
Hello, Darius.
I think when you first come across particularly sick children, it's really heartbreaking. But I don't see the single strands of hair anymore. I don't see the tubes. They're just like really nice kids. And the fact that they're sick is kind of like they're still kids.
Come on. Good job, buddy.
Some days smiles aren't very common, I think, for some of these families, and so it's important that, that, as we all know, laughter is the best medicine, so anything that can raise spirits is vital and helps them get through those difficult times.
We're not scary. A little bit smelly, but not scary.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Take care now.
That's cool.
Bye-bye.
You do?
Lovely. And it lights up and everything. This one.
I still say that every day's a Star Wars day, and it is. I still love it, it's crazy. This is living the dream. I've always collected Star Wars toys as a kid. They're really the only toys I ever played with. I was given other things like footballs and other stuff, but yeah, never really played with anything else apart from Star Wars.
It's the love of it. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to be part of it. It's a community.
My uncle had this suit and showed it to me when it was back in '86, and it was then he lent it to me for a few days so I could do a fancy dress competition, which I didn't win. I know. So after that, it was then bagged up and put back in his loft. So then it went back in his loft for a few years, and then he turned up with it at mine with, in a couple of bin bags and said to me, Mum, does your Simon want this? And at that point she said, oh yeah, he'll have it, he'll have it. It then went up into my loft for a few years and sat in a pram. And I just thought one day I'd get it out and actually decide to do something with it, to restore it. Didn't really realise the value of it at that point at any time. Got all sorts of silly offers. People saying, I'll buy it off you. One guy said, I'll sell me house.
Some guy comes on the internet and says, I've got an original Stormtrooper. And it just sends a ripple out across Star Wars costuming. Everyone's talking about it. Saw the thread, I thought, yeah, this guy's got an original Stormtrooper. Like, the only guy in the world outside of Lucas Archive who's got original Stormtrooper. Sure he has, yeah. Mutual friend, also costume maker, said, does look pretty authentic, this suit. You should get in touch with him. The guy lives down the road. Anyway, yeah, turned up, was original, and everyone just couldn't believe it, me included.
This effectively is what turned up in those 2 bin bags that my uncle dropped off at my house. Arms, legs, torso, and the helmet, just there. I mean, it has, you know, it's 40 years old, so it's had a lot of knocks and digs, and a lot of them were caused on the film, I would have thought. But they were stunt suits, you know. Stuntmen rolled around in these and, you know, got bashed up and shot at and flashbangs going off. It was Rob that said, we could really do something with this because it's never been done before. It's never been done with an original suit from A&H. I mean, I loved art when I was at school, you know, so having the artist background for me really helps with stuff like this, whereas I can imagine if you just didn't have any love for that, then you just wouldn't go anywhere with it.
I mean, we try and stick as close to screen accurate as we can. The suit really helped because it's such a one-off piece. It is what it is, we can't really take any credit, it's just a copy of the original suit, and we kept as much detail as we could. Well,
that's another thing, isn't it? Because when we first started this, there was other prop makers out there trying to advise us and saying we should, well, you need to clean this bit up and you need to not give that too much away on that.
Remove that.
Remove that so, you know, people don't, you know. And I said, no, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it warts and all. So it's got every imperfection in the helmet and every imperfection in all the other places that were in, that you'll see on my original. See, Rob's always come from more of the costuming point of view and I've always come from the collecting point of view.
Like Simon says, it is kind of split into 2. There's the costume guys and then the collector guys, and they don't necessarily, you don't necessarily collect stuff and then costume in it. The UKG and 501st is a big part of it, the whole community. Yeah, I was 501st.
Rob was 501st. I wasn't, but joined almost immediately. It is a sense of the theatrical brought to real life.
Not one for interviews or the theatrical elements of it, but once you're inside that suit, it doesn't matter because nobody can see you and you can do whatever you want. You go to the conventions and it's great for us because we want to go to the conventions. Yeah. But when you go somewhere outside of our interests, like just a shopping centre or something, the reaction on the people's faces and how they respond to the stormtroopers and to the characters, it's just amazing. But the hospital visits, they are the best ones, absolutely bar none, because just the effect you can have on the kids. And the uplift you can give them and the positivity you can bring is just, you wouldn't imagine it. If I asked you to put that on and go in the hospital, you would not believe the response that you get. And it's just all positive, and you come out of there yourself feeling really positive because you can see instantly the effect that you're having. And that's what really makes it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I forced my family into loving Star Wars, but I think really it's my enthusiasm that kind of they've been feeding off, really. And I think especially for my wife, when she sees the kind of social aspect of the garrison, the kind of friends we made, which are now, a lot of them are her friends, and she's something she wanted to be involved with. And obviously the girls now are all into it. Alyssa, she has a Ahsoka Tano costume, so we do all her face paint, and she has the lightsabers, and she really enjoys that. Megan, she does Princess Leia, the classic Princess Leia with the buns and everything. So yeah, she enjoys that. It's one of the things where they say the family that plays together stays together. I think some families where people have all their own separate interests. I don't think there's anything wrong with necessarily having your own interests and being your own person, but I think it's great that we've all got something in common that we can talk about, or you can watch it on TV or films or whatever. But it's not the fact that it's Star Wars, the fact that we can all go out to an event and all be part of it together, and the girls can meet other children that are doing the same thing.
It was kind of a case of, I like the films, not sure what the rest of this is all about, until kind of Steve introduced me to the people, to the world of costuming, kind of got more into it. And then with having 2 young boys, it's a case of joining in or missing out, I think. The youngest one loved it from the first time he saw it and would reenact every single moment. Yep. And because we do have costumes around the house, they would be in them most of the time. In fact, we used to go to school to pick up the older one, and he'd have to wear a costume every day. So he would.
Well, let's put it this way: the boys had lightsabers in their hands when they were like 1 year of age.
I think the rest of the world has almost caught up again with Star Wars because of the release of the new film. So where they were going to school and the kids didn't really know so much about Star Wars because of the age, like 8, 10, it wasn't really around. But now the new film's come out, everybody is so excited about it. All the kids have got Star Wars lunchboxes, school bags. So now my kids,
boys are like,
everybody now thinks our kids are super cool because they've seen them in their costumes and they've seen them at events, and that kind of boosts their confidence a little bit to want to do it even more.
And you've just hit the nail on the head there, because it's like a confidence thing as well, because hanging out with our club, etc., and what have you, and they've been part of that. And obviously, Karen, she runs the Galactic Academy as well for the kids, and it's given so much for their self-esteem and confidence.
For us, to get the memories of the events that you've been to, that's what we're looking for. We're kind of thinking, we've had such a good day, it's been really nice, some of them really inspiring, and it's just nice to be able to look back at that later and go, oh yeah, we did that.
It is one big family. We all, like I say, going back to what I said earlier about getting together, socialising, get together, building the armour and what have you. It's a good experience.
The Galactic Academy was set up in America by Albin Johnson, the same person who set up the 501st. And the UK kind of touched on it a little bit, but not very much. And then a friend of ours, Stuart, sort of took hold of the reins and said, we need to bring this to the UK, let's make it bigger. And I kind of volunteered to help. Any Star Wars costume, whether that be made out of cardboard or polystyrene or anything, is acceptable to us to join. And ultimately it's just it's an online forum for kids to have their pictures put up, so they can be a part of something. Our children have been in it from a very young age, so they know the whole charity side to what we do within the UK Garrison, the Rebel Legion, and the Galactic Academy is a bit of an extension of that. So when they do events, there's collection buckets, and my kids always go to school and say, oh, I did this for charity at the weekend, and they're really proud of that. They kind of like the whole thing that I'm doing something for other people.
Well, I think it's like really helps so they can help them like get better.
But as a parent from ourselves, obviously, I think the main thing I'd like the kids to feel is that they're proud of themselves, that they've actually done something. And, you know, yeah, obviously they're having fun. Yeah. But a lot of kids today always want stuff. They want money for stuff. To actually see someone and a child give their money to another cause, I think that's quite special.
We were told we couldn't have kids.
The most amazing little miracle ever. As parents, you don't expect, you know, to be sitting across the table from a consultant and them saying to you those words, cancer. You don't associate them with a child, and especially not your child. You don't expect this to happen, you know, and hearing those words are just like the worst ever. It's like a knife to your heart. Mark and I always had this rule that we never really spoke about things in front of Henry until we all sat down together as a family unit. But I broke that rule one night, and Mark and I couldn't decide, could we, when we was told that there's nothing you can do. Do you want to stay and have more chemotherapy or go home and enjoy the last few days? I thought Henry was asleep, and I said to the nurse, how do you know when to stop? What do you do as parents to come to this decision? And Henry said, Mum, it won't work. We go home now. I go home to my bed and my toys.
It is one of the most unnerving things when you're sitting there having a conversation with the 4-year-old son, and he knows he's not going to live. That, for a dad, and even more a mum, it's just, you can't fully understand that, because you've got a 4-year-old son that knows he's going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it. He referred to his friends, was obviously the patients at the hospital, and that's who he referred to as his friends.
And then he said to us, didn't he, Mummy and Daddy, you helped the other children, didn't he?
Yep.
And then, shortly after, he became unresponsive, and they were one of the last few words he said to us. So we've kept that, and we decided that, what do you do, you know? Once Henry gained his angel wings, we kept reliving that Christmas Day and what he wanted us to do. So we began the Henry Allen Trust and gathered 10 trustees together, and we all decided what could we do to create Henry's lasting legacy and his memory so no one would forget him. The amazing guys heard about Henry's story and heard how much he wanted to meet a stormtrooper, and they'd done a surprise visit for us on the ward, which was just incredible. We've kindly built up such a lovely relationship. They're kind of like part of our family now. They come to our events, they help us out with hospital visits, and if he'd have had the opportunity to grow up, he too, I think, would be saying, can I be part of you too?
That's the main reason why, obviously, Fire First carried little man to a celebration of life.
We couldn't think of anybody else that we wanted to do that for and give Henry his final send-off. We just knew that it had to be the troopers and Darth Vader.
It was clear that Dawn and Mark wanted us to do it.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get a tougher sort of event than that. And having children yourself, I don't think you'd do a harder thing than that at all.
I remember it being a real kind of dilemma, because when you're wearing a costume, particularly something that's armoured, you're very restricted. You're restricted your view, you're restricted in your movement.
So I must admit, my initial thought would be it would be too difficult to be a pallbearer. But once obviously we really wanted to do it for them because we could see it meant so much. But once I went and had a meeting with the funeral director, and I took along some of the costume. It must have looked quite funny, really, having like an arm of a stormtrooper taken into the funeral directors with me. But it was just to sort of see what would be possible with the movement and and holding the coffin. And you know, the sad thing is, because it was so, because little Henry was so small, the funeral director said that, you know, we didn't need to hold him on our shoulders. We could just hold him sort of by our side.
Really amazing to be able to do it and do something that was so personal and so important to Henry and to his family.
For me personally, it was an honour for a parent to sort of entrust you with their most precious thing.
It sounds surreal, but the most beautiful thing you could see, and they were holding our most precious miracle, and I can't thank those guys enough for making Henry's last wish come true.
Dawn said to us afterwards that she said it was amazing because it looked like we were protecting Henry.
I can't put it into words how much it meant, I really can't, but it just meant the absolute world to us, didn't it? And I'm sure to Henry, because the Garrison guys are just phenomenal, and they was on the journey with us, and for them to be able to do that and put Henry to rest and let him gain his wings was just magical. And we're truly grateful because we understand that that must have been so super hard for those guys to do that, but yet they put their feelings aside and just gave Henry his last wish. I just love the guys from the bottom of my heart for making that happen. I really do.
What can you say? It was pretty phenomenal to be able to do that, but just wrong that we had to. It's, you know, that just shouldn't happen, really, to be honest. It's a bit of a tough one to talk about, to be fair.
So Ginny, can you tell me what you're doing here today at Leicester Square?
No, I can't. Sorry. No, I'm afraid I can't. We're here to enjoy the red carpet and to see what's going on here, and more to be revealed. More excited than I can express. I am melting inside.
Biggest thing we've ever been involved in. So yeah, it's just trying to contain the excitement, just chill out a bit and just soak it all in and enjoy it, really.
We're here for one big day, a special day, which every Star Wars fan, right, should be part of and be proud of, right? We are UK Garrison, right, and we are proud to be part of UK Garrison.
All our guys have waited, you know, well, forever for this, to be quite honest. It seems like forever anyway. From our point of view, getting this right is so important because, you know, this is so important. So we've spent the last week organising, structuring this so that what we provide to today's spectacular is as good as we can be. You know, we take a lot of pride in what we do and how we do it, and we're really grateful to Lucasfilm and to Disney to give us this opportunity.
There is Star Wars The Force Awakens European premiere. It's today. Woohoo!
I'm slightly numb. I haven't had any sleep for like a week. We've been up organising, structuring, making lists. I want to get it right, and I know we can. You know, we've got really, really good guys, and they're really excited, and I think we're going to do good. I made a promise to Disney in their offices that we could pull that off. We literally got the go-ahead 3 days before.
For me, it was surreal. It sounds cliched, but I kept telling myself, is this really me? Am I really here? Am I doing this?
When we came out of the cinema, we did get mobbed.
I'm into this for the charitable side of it. I love doing the charitable side. I love seeing the smiles on faces. But it's the effort the guys put into their costumes. It's the hours of work. It's the hours they dedicate just to have them all be able to walk a red carpet for a Star Wars premiere. This is a little bit of reward for what you do every day.
Had to acquire a couple of police officers. One of the police officers got on the radio, got some backup, and we ended up with 4 Met police officers with us as well, holding the crowds back.
Right up until while we were on the red carpet, things were still changing. Disney and whomever were there, officials, were adapting and changing things because that's just the nature of the business. It was just a rush, it was like an adrenaline rush.
Walking onto the red carpet, as soon as you turn the corner, it's just one massive flash, camera flash. This is amazing, and the crowds were absolutely brilliant.
Flashing and the sound of cameras and look this way, turn this way, and it was like a dream. It was like for 5 minutes you're like a film star, and that must be what it's like.
He's such an iconic villain. You see Darth Vader, you don't mistake him for anybody else. Your whole body language and your whole persona has got to be all powerful, really, because
I don't know whether it's excitement, relief, combination of both, was seeing the screen and being at front with Vader and seeing an absolute sea of troopers behind and knowing that I was partly responsible for that. I made that happen.
showing the world this is what we can do. Crowd were brilliant. They were calling Vader, and they were just going absolutely ballistic.
You can't explain how it feels. It's Star Wars. It was a film, the first film that had come out for years and years and years, the one that most of us never ever thought we'd made again, and to actually be on the red carpet for that was a special moment.
And again, we're very, very lucky to be able to do that sort of thing. Yeah, something I'll never forget. It's brilliant.
That memory will never, ever leave me. What we did do, we did to the best of our ability, and I think it was phenomenal.
It was epic, absolutely. Even just not being in costume, just walking down there, seeing the screen ahead of me and seeing everyone up there, and they just looked awesome, absolutely awesome. It's the best thing ever. It is a nice reward. It's not what we do it for. We do it for the money, for making the money for the charities, but this is something, it's an absolute honour and a privilege to be able to do this. I wouldn't have imagined this out in my wildest dreams that I'd ever get to do this, to walk down the red carpet. I'm not an A-lister, I'm just a regular person off the street, and I got to walk down the red carpet. How awesome is that? Believe in yourself, because you can do it. You don't have to be famous, you don't have to be rich, you just have to follow your dream, and if you follow your dream, you'll get there.
We've always been Galactic Academy. Usually we dress up, don't we? Go to the Galactic Academy stand. What's your number? CK10. Oh dear. What is your number? I think you're under about 3 different things. You've got your Jawa, you've got your Biker Scout, and your Darth Vader one. Who have you raised some money for? Where did we dress up, and where did we go across that big bridge?
Oh, on the bridge.
So we walked across. Well, you didn't walk across, but you was dressed up, wasn't you, in your Biker Scout outfit, guns and everything, and we put you in your TIE Fighter wheelchair, and we went across the Humber Bridge. And who did we raise money for that day?
Who do we always raise money for? Can you not think? Wish upon a star.
Oh.
Didn't we?
This is some of my Lego Star Wars. Here, there's some of the spaceships and some cannons.
We went for a scan at 20 weeks and found out that the baby that I was carrying had actually got a heart problem. Hypoplastic right heart is very rare. Obviously he was born, they then proceeded to do open heart at 3 days old, and if you can imagine surgeons doing open heart on a heart the size of a walnut, your Christmas walnuts, that's how big the baby's heart was at 3 days old. After that it was just trying to live a normal life really. At the time they said we would be looking at 3 surgeries. He would possibly live till the age of 10. At present day, today, Luke's had 19 heart operations, and the surgeries that they do are maintaining his heart at the moment. But we have the standing joke now, you're 11, you're on borrowed time, so we do quite laugh about it, don't we? We do sort of say, oh, another year older sort of thing. But you've only had 1 operation this year, haven't you? We've always loved Star Wars, and we ended up going down to Legoland, and obviously Luke's in a wheelchair for long distances, he's okay in the house, and George, his dad, obviously decided to pimp his wheelchair. So we first obviously thought about doing it as a TIE fighter, because you'd got a Darth Vader outfit, hadn't you? Mm-hmm. So we obviously did the TIE fighter side, and obviously Luke had just a plastic, cheap Darth Vader lightsaber, didn't you? And then we obviously had a Darth Vader, and everybody, like, you know, from the 501st, was like, oh, what have you done to his wheelchair? Oh, this is amazing, like this sort of thing. And a lot of them were like, you know, is he just in costume or does he need it? And we were, no, no, no. And he had lots of photographs taken with the 501st, and the most famous photograph is Luke stood with 2 TIE pilots at the back end of Legoland, and it just went viral. Absolutely just went viral. Apparently you even attended a Comic-Con over in America and came second. We're not quite sure how you actually attended the Comic-Con and came second, because you can't actually fly all that distance. But yeah, so we got involved, and it was sort of from then on, sort of 501st really took us under our wings, and every time we went to a Comic-Con, we went to Excel, we've been to Celebration, everybody just knows Luke. You know, you're trying to forget your problems for the day. You're trying to be, you know, that normal family having a day out, you know, with no hospital, no sort of worries. We make every day count, because you just don't know what tomorrow will bring. We need to make a new outfit next year, don't we? We need another outfit to go forward, don't we? To do something else.
Now these 2 are separate sets, like you can take that off and have that connected, and you can also put a minifigure onto there, then pull out that and make them fall to the Rancor pit.
The UK Garrison met Luke at Legoland a few years ago. He was in his wheelchair, dressed as Darth Vader, and his father had made his wheelchair look like a TIE fighter. We took a photograph of him, which subsequently went viral, got in contact with him and his family, did a trip to his school, they had a Star Wars family day there, and we've been friends with Luke ever since. He follows us everywhere, he comes to many, many events, he's always kitted up, and he has an absolute love of Star Wars.
Well, these are 3D units. They've got models inside where they just stay still, but then above they've got like this kind of screen, then it goes down onto them, so then it looks like if they're moving. And there's some really good ones here.
Luke, it's for you.
Hello, Luke.
Hello.
We're honoured to present you with this Stormtrooper helmet. that has been kindly donated by Rob, Simon and their team in recognition of the courage, strength and love you show whilst helping others despite the difficulties you face with your own health. You really are a hero of the Empire.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yeah.
It looks awesome. You absolutely fit the part and you very well deserve it for all the hard work you've done helping others. And hopefully you can carry on doing it in the future, and when you're old enough you're going to join the UK Garrison and carry on the tradition for us. Good lad.
Are you under there?
Yes. Stuck.
Now look, that's specially made just for you, that is.
Wow, look. This means a new outfit now, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Are we going to invite these stormtroopers in then?
Yes.
Whoa.
Step. Got the fabulous Death Star.
It's wonderful because we get so much pleasure in doing what we do, and with the excitement that's happening for a new generation with the new films coming out, Luke embodies that excitement, and Luke has a love of costuming and a huge love of Star Wars, and we can just see it being handed on to the next generation. And Luke and the other children of his age will be the ones that carry on the legacy of the 501st Legion in the future, and they will become the new generation carrying forward the charity work that we do today, and hopefully it can get bigger and better and we can help more and more children who then will in turn carry it on.
One of the biggest things you could ever wish for is to be in the film. I think that is probably the ultimate when it comes to being a Star Wars fan.
I wouldn't give up what I did, no way. There's no way I would give up being in the garrison or trooping to be in the film.
You know, you get a child come up, and again, one of the ones in hospital where a child hadn't smiled all day until we came in as stormtroopers.
It's a journey that I'd recommend anybody who wants to get into costuming does.
We've done so many amazing events over the years.
Priceless, basically, it is priceless.
You just make every minute count.